Friends, thank you for watching my channel. I just want to remind you, if you need wallpaper, go to www.wallpaperboulevard.com. Tell them Spencer sent you. In fact, if you use my hashtag, Spencer Colgan is wallpaper, they'll be sure to give you a 10% off at your checkout. No matter how much you order, they have a wide selection of wallpaper. Check it out. Hey, this is Spencer Colgan from Spencer Colgan is Wallpaper. Many of you paint cluttered rooms from which you cannot move all of the furniture out. What do? You gotta cover the furniture and leave it in and put it in the center, okay? And I'm gonna show you what I did here. We covered all of the floors. This is the worst part of it, where you can't fit your drop cloth around furniture. So what I do is I make sure I get masking paper in there. It may look sloppy to you, I agree, but it's the best way to get the floor covered. Many of you, I've seen it myself, you take drop cloths and you cover 80% of the floor here and here, and you leave all of this exposed in here. And you know what you get at the end? You get a snowfall of paint on your hardwood floor. As a pro, you can't do that. You must get on your knees and do due diligence and cover these floors. You'll be happy in the end when you did. When my son used to work with me, I would tell him, cover every inch of the floor. And when he didn't, I would say, the paint is going to find the very little spot where you didn't cover the floor. And it always worked out to be true. So we have a massive dresser, an end table here, a chair. Now, I have to paint the ceiling. This is in the way. This is frustrating, but this is the only way you can do it. Okay, it's best to put it in the center, because as you go around the room, you're gonna wind up moving the thing 3 times, 4 times, moving it away, moving it back. That's twice. And if you have to do the ceiling and it's that big, you gotta move it again. So avoid that. We're going to paint the ceiling edges. This area right here, where the ceiling meets the wall. And we're obviously painting the ceiling first. If you don't, what you'll have is drops of paint all over your walls, all over your doors, etc. And so we're first going to wet our brush, which I did. Okay, you can see that it's wet, because a damp brush works a lot better than a dry one. Second thing we're going to do is to put our brush on a telescopic extension paint pole. Okay, and I take the entire handle of the paintbrush and attach it to the same amount of length of the painting pole, so that this is immovable. Okay, we have to go around this room. We're going to be putting a lot of pressure on it. We want this tight. Now, there's a tool. I have it. I use it as a relic. I look at it. I have relics in my work truck of all of the things on which I wasted money. And the tool that I'm referring to is sold by paint suppliers. I purchased mine at Sherwin-Williams. It's a $12 relic. It probably goes for $18 today. It's a gadget that attaches to your pole and has a pivot thing that goes like this and all of that. If you want this relic, I have one for you. It just serves as a memento of wasted money for me. Okay, I suggest that you don't buy the relic. So that's how I'm going to do it. I will be dipping into my 5-gallon bucket, in which I have placed my 1-gallon can of paint. Why do I do this? When you're doing a ceiling, you're moving quickly. You're not particularly looking where you're dipping, and you are more apt to knocking the can over. This widens the center of gravity and will not permit the can to fall over as easily. And if it does, it's contained in a bucket. Okay, it's contained in a bucket, and I'll be dipping into that and brushing my edges quickly. I've dipped my brush, and you can see it's just under halfway up the filaments or bristles. Now, ideally, you really don't go past the half point, but doing the edges of a ceiling, that gets to be impossible. But that would be the goal. You don't want a sloppy brush dripping all the way down, okay? But this is how we're gonna do it. I spread my legs, I go back and forth repeatedly. I'm working on a texture, and I'm getting both the wall and the ceiling. If you count how many times I went back and forth, it's at least 20, because I'm pushing the paint into the texture. Now they have rollers that have the typical 9-inch width of roller, but on the edge, they also have the pile of fibers for the roller too, so that if you were doing the ceiling, you could paint the same color right up against the wall. And but I'm not looking to paint the same color as the ceiling and the walls, so I'm not doing that. But they do have rollers where you could paint the ceiling and the walls the same color by using the edge of the roller to go up against the wall and paint the wall with the roller. Okay, let's do it again. I dip it in there carefully, trying to be neat, right? I'm going to give you another suggestion. You're going back and forth because your eyes are not close, okay? When you're painting something, you want to be within 2 feet of what you're painting. But here, we're moving quickly. You're going back and forth because you know you're not going to see where you're missing. So you compensate by going with more strokes. Here's a suggestion for those of you who paint. Get yourself a removable pair of shoes, sandals. Make sure they're safe on a ladder, because they'll come off and they'll make you fall off the ladder. But maybe you're not using a ladder. You only walk in the room of the paint with the sandals, and you have your shoes outside of the room. I'll tell you, it's a great idea if you're looking to keep all of the mess in one area. Okay. Let's bring you to the corner, show you how I do the corner. Whoops. Okay, come on now. Okay, I go into the corner, push it in there. See that? I push it again. Now, look how I clean up the corner. Yeah, look what I was doing. Push it in there. See that? And now I pull. You got paint ready to drip in that corner, so you got to pull it down the wall, over to the other side, once again that way. Now we have no more mess. Okay, I'm going to do that for the rest of the ceiling. And when you're done with your brush, take the tape off like that. That's how I do it. Let's clean up the barrel of the brush and keep using it. Quick way to do it. Now we always have a damp paint rag with us. I don't like the fully cotton ones. They really do not absorb paint, but these do. These rags bring the paint toward the center and allow these threads to clean up the mess very nicely if you should have an issue. Next thing is the fan. Oh, you guys say, oh, take it down. No, thank you. No thanks. I do not want to be dealing with people's fans and dropping them and breaking their glass. No thanks. I can take it down. I don't want to take it down. And so I don't take it down. Okay, nice and easy. Concentrate on this area because, first of all, I should tell you, I taped the collar, right? And so we want to make sure we go back and forth and we do this area. Because it's very, very easy to miss. After I get the perimeter of the collar to the fan painted, 9 inches or so around it, then I take off the tape. Because you don't want it drying, right? Now, what kind of applicator will I use for a textured ceiling? Well, I'm going to choose a 1 1/4 inch nap. The nap is this. That's the nap. It's 9 inches from here to here, and it's 1 1/4 inches. Because when you're working on a textured surface, the texture adds square footage to the volume of surface that has to be painted. You don't realize it, but a textured wall or ceiling requires a lot more paint than one that is flat. For our walls, well, I'm thinking something a little fancier. Now, if you're going to go with something that's 18 inches wide, you have to have the receptacle for the paint in order to accommodate the large roller, the tray. And so we have here a roller. This one is from Purdy, and you can see that it takes oil and latex, aceite y latex. That means oil and paint, oil and latex paint. Okay, and then of course we have this gadget. I can say that this makes the job go quickly, but there's a learning curve when you're dealing with this for the first time. It's heavy, and you just need to try it out before you use it. See if you're comfortable with it. It's essentially the same thing. It cuts down the job at least 30% of the time to roll the walls quickly, especially on first coats. You can get a 10-foot by 10-foot wall done in 6-7 minutes with something like this. When it's properly cut, after it's cut, you just do this. Okay, so a damp roller works better than a dry roller. So we're going to dampen it with the hose. That's it. And now, it's just damp. That'll work. Let's get to it. Anybody ever watch the Brady Bunch? Or the Partridge Family? I feel like I'm there. The Brady Bunch. Okay. Well, we're going from one color to another. Not only that, the ceiling is textured. You need to paint the ceiling twice. Once in one direction. The second time in the 90-degree angle direction. And so if I go parallel with the wall that you're looking at, the next coat, I must go perpendicular to the wall that you're looking at. Now, for those of you who have been complaining about my vocabulary. I just happened to make up my own dictionary, which I have for sale on my Amazon store. It is the Spencer Colgan Wallpaper and Painting Dictionary. It's not an urban dictionary. All right, let's go. Come on, camera, stay up. I need a cameraman. If any of you wants to come to Florida and be my camera person, you can do that. I will be, I just need you to see the angle and how I go about rolling this. Okay, that seems good enough. Because I want to show you how wet the roller should be with paint. So the first part is important. The roller's loaded up. And you keep turning it so it doesn't drip. You just keep turning it. You know, if you want to keep a roller from dripping, just keep turning it gently. Okay, so I don't start in the corner. I start a few inches away. I want to get the dripping paint onto the ceiling and off of the roller. Okay, so let's go near the corner now. We're going to go near it. Now I'm going back and forth. I'm simply laying out my paint. This is not the final stroke. I'm just getting it onto the ceiling at this point. Now it's on the ceiling, right? I'm going to put a little more paint on my roller. You don't want to kill the roller and make it flat. Ugh, don't do that. You see how it's alive again? Well, you can see in between the clusters of pile, right? Now watch this. I start here, I go down to the wall, and now I pull it in the same direction. Done. That column is done. Every width of the roller is called a column. I overlap the column 50%. I go down. Watch this. I come all the way up. Done. Do the same thing. 50%. Go down. Bring that roller one direction. Done. The area you're looking at is now painted. How many times did I paint each area? One when I rolled over it the first time. Twice when I rolled over it when I did the 50%, right? So once I rolled it on back and forth, and then I overlapped each area 50%. Think about it. That's twice. And then when I do the other section, I'm going to roll it twice too, so that you shouldn't have any missed spots. Okay? Now, I should tell you, I'm not hitting the wall that's out of your view. I'm not touching it. I'll show you what I mean. Back and forth, back and forth. Okay, 50% pull. Go back down, 50% pull it. 50% down, pull it. Beautiful. Now, what about the line right over my head? Well, let me show you how we go about that, because you can create lap marks even on a textured ceiling. While it is wet, while it's wet, this is what we do. Now watch this. Oh, I go beyond the line. I press gently, keep pressing harder and harder and harder. Boom. I amalgamate it. Go press lighter, lighter, get harder. Come back. I bring it all together. I'm keeping it all wet. Nothing is allowed to dry. So that the edge right at my finger, back and forth, it's all wet. As I move from this section to this one to this one, this edge is the edge that you create, as I created one here, is always wet. then you'll never see any differential in sheen or color because you kept it all what's called a wet edge. Oh, you did see the corner there. Okay. Just damp with paint. I want to get as close to that wall as possible. Rolling parallel to the wall against which I want to get close. Back and forth, doesn't matter, because I'm going to roll up against it anyway when I roll perpendicular to it. That was rolling parallel. Now, I'm going to roll as you saw me rolling just moments ago. Okay, let's do that on the other side of the wall. And let me just show you. After I go all the way to the other side of the wall, which I'm going to do over here. After I do this, I'm going to come back to this wet area and roll perpendicular to it. Now this is wet. That's wet right there. So let's join it. Look where I started, just away from it. Now, what direction did I go in? I went in this direction, right? So we're going to continue in that direction. I'm rocking. One foot to the other, I'm rocking my body. I can control the motion of my roller more easily by rocking my body rather than walking with the roller. Look at that. Don't let any column dry. Always finish off in the same direction. That's my finish direction. From here to here. And when I join sections, I pass the section recently painted by overlapping it by a few inches. Let me show you what I mean. That's where I left off. Go a few inches and lift off like an airplane lifts off. As you lift off, you put less and less pressure. As you get to the point of juncture, that is, excuse me, that is where you painted it and where you didn't paint it, you're going to lift off, gently joining the paint from the new section to the old, so that there's no, hey mom, what is that there? That's called a lap mark, honey. Our painter didn't know what he was doing. Okay, now, watch what I mean. This is where we left off, right here. Watch this. I'm doing it quickly. I'm lifting my roller. I'm lessening the pressure, which you can't see. It's all a quick motion. I'm just gently amalgamating, joining the paint, integrating it so that nothing is too bold or stands out. You see, picture this being the point of juncture. Watch this. Okay, I'm pressing firmly, 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 firmly. I'm letting it looser, 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 looser. I lift off. Do it again. Looser, looser, lift off. So that the point of juncture, you take note of the fact it already has paint there. So go light, light, light. You're really not looking to apply any paint there. You're just looking to feather out the point at which one section joins the other. Okay. Nice. I'm sweating bullets. Is our halfway mark. So I'm going to roll over it about 6-7 inches and then pull it this way again. So I'm keeping that all wet with paint. And I'm finishing in the same direction, which is this way. Okay. Hold on. I just want to go parallel with the wall to give myself a parallel wet line. Now I got to go over it because it's rolled in a different direction. I'm just cleaning it up, cleaning it up, cleaning it up. And that's it. Now I'm going to do the rest of the ceiling. Now you know how to do it. You're going to be good at this. Okay. Now, let's cover the vanes of the fan. You see the sweat? Don't worry. Nothing dried. Trust me. The room is very humid. Okay. Now, to do over the fan, we're going to just roll our paint right up against that collar. The fan area will get painted 3 times. Once, 4 times actually. Once with the brush. This is the second time. I'm going to go with the roller the 3rd time with the first coat of paint. And then in the other direction will be the 4th time. And we do that just to make sure that the direction is correct. The direction of the paint roller. This is not correct. So we're getting as close as we can to that. Okay, now we'll paint the rest of our ceiling. You'll see what I mean now. Okay, let's bring you back over here. Things are in the way. I do. I love it. Makes videos look really bad. Okay, coming up to our wet edge. We're overlapping the wet edge. Oh yeah. One direction now. One direction. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Done. 1, 2, 3. Done. 1, 2, 3. Done. Overlap it. You missed the point. You missed the spot. Done. Okay. Very nice. See that? See the point over my finger here? You see that? That's wet. It's wet here and it's wet there. Okay? But you can see that what I just painted has a color difference, right? Now if you let that dry over here, that would be a visible mark. That's your first coat. Now, a brand new 18-inch roller. Let's do the same thing that we did to the roller previously. We're just going to wet or dampen the fibers in the roller. Look at how much thicker it makes the roller as compared to what you just saw. This just came out of the wrapper. That's the best way to use the roller. Not when it's all dry and flat. This wets the bottom of the fibers of the roller, gets it ready to absorb better the paint that you're going to be putting on the wall. Okay, let's get this going. Now we're going to paint this wall. I just primed for the third time our touch-ups. That is a damp spot there. You want to make sure you prime all your plaster repairs. Okay, just in case you saw that in the video. Now we're going to cut the wall. Now, with a cluttered room, can I relieve you of a headache? Do one wall at a time. Oh, it'll help you several ways. First of all, we're going to do this wall 2 times. We're going to cut the perimeter, we're going to roll the wall, then we're going to do it all over again. Okay, what are we going to be using? A roller for the top part, so we can have both a roller finish on the wall and a roller finish at the top, and not a brush finish. You can choose the brush you're going to use. Some of you have small hands, so you may want to use a cut brush that's small. Okay, it's an angle sash brush. You won't get that much done, but you'll get it done. Or if you want to move quickly, we have the 4-inch Purdy. You may use a Worcester or whatever, something of equal quality, but we're going to cut that line with the brush, then we're going to roll it, and then we're going to roll the entire wall. Okay, so in consideration of those who choose the smaller brush, we get our brush in that corner. Already I can tell I need some more paint on this thing. Okay, we're just pulling right along. Very simple. Please check out my video recently published on how to do cut-ins. Okay, now let's use the wider brush. And I think both people who like the smaller brush and the larger one can agree that this is the goal, what I'm doing right here. Moving right along. Okay. I have 8 inches of paint below the ceiling. The goal is don't hit the ceiling, right? However you can do it, that's comfortable to your wrist and your fingers, do it. But this is the goal. What I'm achieving here. I'm not hitting the ceiling. Now, that's a brush finish, right? You don't want that. We're rolling the wall. And so what you're going to want is a finish that appears the same. So now that I can't brush near the ceiling, right? And look what I'm doing, one direction. Come in one direction. Once again, all the way over. Get as close to that ceiling as you can. And then quickly do the rest, making sure that this is wet so that you can roll vertically up to as high as you can get with the wide roller. I always tape my trim. In this room, we did not paint the trim, but I tape it. Okay, if your hand moves a little bit, you're gonna have this paint on here. Now, my friends across the Atlantic do not have clear caulking, clear caulk, right? So they don't have it. And so my advice that they use clear caulk can't be done. So I'm gonna show you the alternative to clear caulk. You take what we call a dry brush. I don't mean literally a dry brush, but a brush with very little paint on it. Okay, the caulk goes in here, as I've shown on previous videos, to prevent bleeding underneath the tape. You can get green tape that expands upon the touch of the paint, or you can simply do this for a lot less money, okay? This is now a dry brush. Look at how little paint is on it. You'll have to do it twice, but you take the brush, you go right up against the corner, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, without pushing the brush up against the corner. And you'll have to do it a lot because there's very little paint on it. Do you think the paint is going to get underneath the tape? No. Okay. You're just going alongside of it. You see that? I'm not doing this. This is the angle. See that? See the difference? It's less offensive to that corner. You're not going to breach it if you simply press down the tape firm as you install it. Then you take the dry brush and you go up against the corner. Okay. You can see how many times I've had to do it. Now we'll end it in one direction so we don't have brush marks, right? Okay. This is one coat, even though I just went over the first coat. I wanted to even out the layout. Who's thinking they want 18-inch rollers now? Don't forget, you have to get the tray that accommodates them too, you know? You have to have the room to store them, you know? They're cumbersome, but if you have the room, I think they're worth it. What do you think? If you want to go faster, you can go faster. Remember, I got a bunch of furniture behind me, and my pressure has to be correct, and the angle at which I roll has to be correct. I could go faster like a cowboy and show you, oh, how easy it is. But no, I want it to look right. Okay? So I'm going a little slower. Okay, but look how quickly it covers the wall. Okay, 1 sec. Now, at the top here, our roller is not soaking wet. If you only have a little, if you're doing a header, you just want like a dry roller, dry brush, dry roller. If you put too much paint up here, everyone's going to be able to see it. Okay. Now let's lay it out. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. What about the side? Okay. Now, let's do it again. Same wall. This paint is already drying, but it's not dry. But we're not going to wait till it dries. Remember, Grandpa told us a lot of good things, but he also told us some things that weren't necessarily true. You don't have to wait for the wall to dry. You're not taking any paint off of this, okay? If it were a black paint, I would say, Grandpa's right, wait till it dries. But it's not black paint. Black paint, dark red, maroon comes off after you roll it on, okay? It has to do with what goes into the paint to make it those pigmented colors. Let's get right on this, okay? Okay, we cut the top again, cut the bottom, around the door, etc. Now we're going to roll it the second time. As I'm walking away from the paint tray, I'm just slightly turning my roller so that it doesn't have a chance to stay like this and drip. Okay, let's get on. Okay, it's 5:30 in the late afternoon. Let me show you the ceiling. I know, I see it. But that's the deal. Not bad, right? Now, although the floor was a lot of work to cover, it's worth it. I mean, you want to preserve somebody's floor, you got to take the time. It's backbreaking, but you have to do it. The customer will be painting the trim. She's doing that herself. I would have sprayed these doors, taken them off site and sprayed them. She can't do ceilings, so she said, why don't you do the walls and the ceilings? I'll do the trim. But you can see how my caulk line, that's a good system to do. I like it. So, there you have it. There you have it. It's still wet, and so I have to leave. I can't wait until it fully dries to take the video. So, that's it.